Today I'm ranking the top 15 most popular neighborhoods and suburbs in the Greater Richmond, Virginia area. This includes the city of Richmond and all the surrounding counties of Hanover, Henrico, New Kent, Chesterfield, Goochland, and Powhatan. I'll be ranking these neighborhoods and suburbs based on a couple of key things like number 1, price. How much house can you get for your dollar? Number 2, location. How close is this area to fun things like parks, restaurants, nightlife, malls, basically anything you'd want to do. Lastly, I'll be taking into consideration popularity. I'm a real estate agent, so I work with a lot of people who are relocating to the area, and there are just some neighborhoods that people can't get enough of, so I'll of course be taking that into consideration as well. I'll be going over some of the hottest neighborhoods in the beginning, but of course I'm going to build it a suspense, so I'll be leaving my personal favorite to the very end. And we're getting after it right now. So just to start, I'm going through these neighborhoods and suburbs geographically, moving around the map in a somewhat, but not really overly organized manner. So these are not in a ranking order as I put them into the various categories. So the first selection is not necessarily my number 1 favorite. That one's actually coming at the end. Also, I have standalone videos on almost all of these suburbs and neighborhoods. So if any of these areas pique your interest, you can dive deeper into them in the other videos. Now that we have that behind us, the first neighborhood that we are going to discuss is the Fan and Museum District. Now this is in the city of Richmond and located around the VCU campus. Kind of Belvedere Avenue would be the east side, and then if you went out west, 195 would be the boundary on the west side. There are lots of historic row houses built in the early 1900s in this area that have tons of charm and character. It's a very walkable area with bars and restaurants scattered on the various blocks and corners, and you have great shopping in Carytown right there in the mix. Now, some of my favorite restaurants in this area are Chiaka's Downstairs for the best sandwich in I think all of Richmond, Bacchus for great Greek and Italian food, Cuba Cuba for amazing Cuban food, and I could literally go on and on. There's so many good ones. The first home I ever purchased in Richmond was in the early 1990s, and that was in the Fan, and I absolutely loved it. It's popular with all age groups because of its walkability. Now it is fairly expensive, however, with closed sales in the last 90 days averaging right at $650,000. This is the city of Richmond, so the schools are not going to be anything to write home about, but Fox Elementary would probably be one exception to that comment. So I'm going to put this in the hotspot category. So number 2 we're going to talk about is Scott's Addition. Scott's Addition is just adjacent to the Fan on the north side of Broad Street. This is the area around the Boulevard and around the Diamond where the Flying Squirrels, which is our local AA baseball team, that's where they play. So when I first got to Richmond, you would not be caught dead in Scott's Addition. It was bad. It was an industrial warehouse district that was run down and full of crime. You could pick up properties there for a song. If I had a crystal ball, I would have put every penny I had into that area because it's really come a long ways. It's now ground zero for Richmond's microbrewing scene with tons of craft breweries in that area like Vale, Ardent, Mainline, Hardywood, Strangeways, and so many more. There are tons of great restaurants there like Taza Kitchen, Brenner Pass, Wooden Iron, Lucky AF, ZZQ, and again, so many more. It's a great walkable area, so it makes it a hit with that 20-something, 30-something crowd. Now, most of this housing is apartment rentals with a little bit of single family mixed in there. So if you're lucky, kind of younger and in that age spectrum looking to rent, this is a great option. I'm throwing this one into hotspot. So now we're gonna head west out to Short Pump in western Henrico County. This is the area on Broad Street between I-64 and Route 288 and all of the neighborhoods north and south of Broad. The epicenter of Short Pump is really the Short Pump Town Center, which is by far the best mall in Richmond. Again, this is a great place for shopping and dining, and you will find all sorts of housing in this area, from condos to townhomes to single-family homes. Then we have mixed-use developments like West Broad Village that combine housing, office space, shopping, and dining all in one community. West Broad Village has both a Whole Foods and Trader Joe's, which are wildly popular grocery stores, as well as restaurants like Park Lane Tavern, Fogo de Chao, Bonefish Grill, Ford's Garage, and so many more. There's also amazing dining at the Short Pump Town Center with restaurants like Maggiano's, Firebirds, The Boathouse, Perry's Steakhouse, Casa del Barco, and again, so many more. And the shopping there and in this area in general is second to none. I can't even go through all the stores or we'd be here all day. So Short Pump is a very popular area for families because it has great schools, a ton of great neighborhoods to choose from, and proximity to shopping and dining. Closed sales of single-family homes in Short Pump in the last 90 days averaged $693,000. So this area does come with a price tag. I personally think Short Pump is great and it's super popular. So I'm going to put that one up in this top shelf category. So while we're in Henrico, I'm going to slide just a little bit over to Glen Allen, which is east of Short Pump down I-295. Now, one of the best parts about Glen Allen is its affordability. I have several standalone videos on Glen Allen that I filmed earlier this year. There's a pros and cons, there's a neighborhood video. But at the time of those videos, there were 86 closed sales in the last 90 days with an average sales price of $440,000. Of these 86 sales, 63 were listed under 500, 40 were under 400K, and then 12 were actually listed under 300K. As you can see, this is a good bit less than Short Pump, which is its counterpart right next door. Now, this is still a prime location with great schools and very popular with families. Now, there's not as many shopping and dining options in Glen Allen as Short Pump, but that's not a huge minus because Short Pump's just a hop, skip, and a jump away. Now, I'm going to put Glen Allen into the amazing value category because of its proximity to Short Pump, but a much lower price. Now I want to hear your thoughts on how I've been doing so far. Do you think some of these areas deserve more or less love? Let me know in the comments below. Now we're going to slide down I-295 a bit more to the southeast, and we're going to look at Mechanicsville in Hanover County. Now, Hanover County is a suburb of Richmond, which, as we all know, is steeped in Civil War history. Now, the Battle of Cold Harbor took place in Mechanicsville in June of 1864. This was one of the bloodiest battles of the Civil War, with over 17,000 lives lost in 2 weeks. General Grant of the Union Army was dealt a decisive defeat at Cold Harbor, and in his personal memoirs, he expressed deep regret for his decision to attack the heavily fortified Confederate position. All right, well, that's enough history for us for today. As I mentioned before, Mechanicsville is in Hanover, which is a suburb of Richmond. It has approximately 38,000 residents with a median household income of right at $85,000. The two zip codes for Mechanicsville are 23111 and 23116. You're going to get a little more of a small town feel in Mechanicsville compared to some of the other suburbs, and that's very appealing to some folks. There are some homes on larger lots in Mechanicsville compared to, say, Western Henrico, which is also another thing I think folks find appealing. And there are some solid public schools in this area. The one minus, I would say, is there's a bit less shopping and dining out in Mechanicsville compared to some areas. And the average sold home in the last 90 days was right at $425,000. Now, I'm going to put this into the rock solid affordable category. So, all right, we're going to keep going east into New Kent. Now, New Kent is located east of Richmond on I-64 as you're headed down to the Williamsburg area. It's kind of interesting that, people that live in New Kent can work both in Williamsburg, which is about a 30 to 40 minute commute, or Richmond, which is, say, a 20 to 30 minute commute. So New Kent is an area that has experienced a ton of growth in the last decade. It's home to our local racetrack, which is Colonial Downs for horse racing, and two amazing vineyards. the New Kent Winery and Saudi Creek Vineyards. Both are fantastic, and these vineyards, wineries, they rival what you'll see up in Charlottesville. Now, New Kent's a bit more rural than some of the other communities, so that's a nice option if you prefer a larger lot and a bit more of that country feel. Now, because of that, shopping and dining is going to be a bit more limited in this area compared to some of the others on this list. Now, New Kent has good schools, and the average sales price for homes closed in New Kent in the last 90 days is right at $420,000. So I'm going to put this right in that rock solid, affordable category. All right, now while we're in rural areas, I'm going to jump south of the river into Powhatan. If you're forming rings around the city and you go out from the center, Chesterfield would be in that first ring just south of the James River, and Powhatan would be in that second ring. Now, Powhatan is a large county, so if you live close to Route 288, it's super convenient, but it extends almost to Amelia, so it can get really, really rural out that way. Now, the neighborhood where I live is half in Midlothian, which is Chesterfield County, and half in Powhatan. So it's a very convenient location, close to everything you need, but like Powhatan, it's a bit more rural. It's a nice option if you like larger lots and that more country feel. Now, the schools are solid, but the shopping and dining, again, will be a little bit more limited because of its ruralness. But again, shopping and dining and convenience are much stronger the closer in Powhatan you get to Route 288. So the average closed sale in Powhatan in the last 90 days was right at $493,000. So it's a bit more expensive than New Kent, but still affordable in the big scheme of things. I'm on a roll here, so I'm going to just keep putting this into the rock solid affordable category. So I have created a very handy relocation guide that can save you hours of time and effort, and you can link to that right below. It's a must download, and I think you'll get some great information out of it. So we're going to jump over now to Manakin-Sabot in Goochland County, which is basically the 23103 zip code. Now again, if we're forming rings around the city and you go out from the center, Henrico would be that first ring north of the James River, and Goochland would be kind of that second ring. Just like Powhatan, Goochland is a large county and seems to extend about halfway to Charlottesville if you're going west. Now, I'm going to concentrate on the Manakin-Sabot area of Goochland, which is, I'm going to say, close in eastern Goochland County. Now, there's a ton of beautiful horse farms in this area, and it's home to one of Richmond's largest homes, Dover Hall. Now, Dover Hall is a 38,000 square foot English Tudor estate that sits on 55 manicured acres. It's really a sight to behold. Now, in a lot of ways, Manakin-Sabot feels sort of like a rural extension of Short Pump. For folks who like all the conveniences of Short Pump, to be very, very close, but not in all that hustle and bustle, like a little more of that country feel and larger lots, Manakin-Sabot is a super popular option. Now, this popular area does not come cheap. Closed sales in the last 90 days averaged $865,000. I'm going to put this one up in top shelf. So now we're going to move back into Henrico County in an area that I call the West End. Now, if you look at the map, you're not going to see a designation called the West End like you would for other parts of Henrico like Glen Allen. But I consider it the area just east of Short Pump, kind of right around Godwin High and Freeman High. Now, the zip codes would include 23233, 23238, 23239, and part of 23226. When I first moved to Richmond 30 years ago, the Regency Mall was what you thought of when you thought about the West End. It was a flagship. Now, sadly, over the years, other malls like Short Pump have stolen its thunder. Not as popular as it once was. It's become a little bit dated, but it is going through a redevelopment, and hopefully that will get it back closer to its glory days. Now, this is a very convenient location with great schools, and it's close to shopping and dining. It's always been a popular destination for young families for these reasons. In the last 90 days, closed sales have averaged right at $536,000. Now, I'm going to put the West End into the rock solid affordable bucket. Now we're going to slide back a little closer to the city, and I'm going to go into what I call the University of Richmond area. Now this is the area around the University of Richmond, as you would think. Now one of my last videos was a neighborhood tour of this area, so make sure you check that out. So U of R is located right where Richmond and Henrico County meet, right there at that borderline. This is an older, established part of Richmond that is beautiful and full of charm and character. Now this is some of the highest dollar per square foot real estate you're going to find in the area. So you're paying for an absolute premium location that's super convenient and so central to just about everything in the Richmond area. Now the average price for closed sales in this area at the last 90 days was right at $775,000, but at an average of $325 per foot. The highest sale in this area was $9 million. Now that's pretty darn high for Richmond, Virginia. But it is so popular, I'm going to put this one in the hot spot. Now I know some of you locals may disagree with me, and if that's the case, let me know in the comments below. For those who are watching because you're considering moving to the area, which area do you like so far? Also, if you need any help, my contact information should pop up on the screen. So whether you're looking to move in 1 week, 1 month, even a year, my team and I would love to help. So now we're going back into the city of Richmond, into the Westover Hills area. These homes are located close to the Fannin Museum District, but just south of the James River. Now the James basically goes right through the city, cutting it in half. Oddly enough though, something magical happens when you look at homes in the city that are south of the river. The price goes down. That's what's made this a popular destination for folks that want to be closer to the city, but need more affordability and have a house with some grass and a yard, which is not something you're really going to get in the Fannin Museum District. So it's in the city, so I wouldn't give the schools a high ranking, but it is close to all the creature comforts and very convenient, so it ranks high in that category. So in the last 90 days, closed sales in Westover Hills average right at $460,000. Now that's way less in the museum district. So I'm going to put this in amazing value. So now we're moving back to Chesterfield County into an area called Moseley. Now Moseley is located just west of the Swift Creek Reservoir in the Hall Street Road, which is Route 360 corridor. It's basically the 23120 zip code. There is a ton of new developments in Moseley, such as Magnolia Green, Harper's Mill, Westerly, Summer Lake, just to name a few. New construction can be found all over the place in Moseley, as it's been a hotbed for development in the last several years. Some cool attractions in Moseley are the Richmond Metro Zoo, Chesterfield Berry Farm, and maybe my favorite, Hidden Wit Brewing. Years ago there was really nothing out this way, but as new homes started to go up, the area began developing. As they say, build it and they will come. There's now tons of shops and restaurants all up and down Route 360, which is Hall Street, and that's great. And the schools are also great. Because of the abundance of new homes, which a lot of people gravitate toward, and another reason I talked about, I have had a lot of buyers choose this area in the last few years because people want new. So in the last 90 days, closed sales in Moseley average right around $660,000. I'm going to put this one up in top shelf. Just a super popular area. Now moving a little farther south in Chesterfield County brings us to an area called Chester. Chester is the southern portion of Chesterfield. It's just above Petersburg and close to Colonial Heights. A few months ago, I did a video about the 3 affordable suburbs of Richmond, Virginia, and Chester made that list. Like many of these areas, I have standalone video tours of Chester as well. So, as a matter of fact, Chester was the most affordable suburb at that time, with an average list price of $338,000, which was way less, $190,000 to be exact, than the average list price for RVA as a whole. Now, being in Chesterfield, the schools are solid, but you're a bit farther away from some of the shopping and dining and other, things like that. You do get a lot of house for the money in Chester, so I'm going to throw this one into the amazing value bucket. All right, so now we're going even a bit south of Chester and we're getting down into Petersburg. Petersburg is about 20 to 25 minutes south of the city of Richmond down I-95. Now, Petersburg is rich in history, especially from the Civil War era. The film Lincoln, starring Daniel Day-Lewis, was filmed primarily in Petersburg. Like Scott's Addition, Petersburg was pretty darn sketchy when I got to Richmond many moons ago, but it's come a long way. There's been massive amounts of renovation by investors that are turning whole neighborhoods around. Restaurants like Maria's Old Town, Oyster Society, and Soul Rebel have come into the waterfront warehouse district, which is very cool and full of old historic buildings. Petersburg is on the rise for sure, no doubt, but the best part about it are the prices. Now, I have not spent a ton of time in Petersburg in my last 20 years in real estate, but in the last month, I've had 2 buyers purchase in Petersburg, so I have spent a good bit of time there lately. You can get a nice renovated house in Petersburg for under $300,000. I was shocked at the values that still exist in Petersburg that you won't see in other parts of RVA. I am going to have to put this one down in our ultra budget friendly category. Now for the grand finale, what you've all been waiting for. This is my favorite suburb of all of Richmond. Now this is an absolute total homer pick and it's full of personal bias because I live there, but I'm going with Midlothian, especially that Robius Road corridor. Now this is the area on Robius Road between Huguenot Road and 288. This stretch of land runs right along the James River, and it was basically farmland when I got to Richmond years ago, but it has gradually been built up over time. You have some amazing newer subdivisions in this corridor like Tarrington and Founders Bridge. I like these neighborhoods so much I've done standalone videos on each of these, so make sure you check them out. Now you also have a little bit slightly older neighborhoods like Salisbury and Powderham that have classic Richmond homes and larger lots. The schools are fantastic. The location is close to lots of dining, shopping, doctors, fitness centers, and all the creature comforts. Now it's close to 288, so you can easily hop over to Short Pump and be there in just a matter of minutes. It's a great location and amazing homes, but it does come with a price tag. In the last 90 days, sales in this area averaged over $800,000. Now, I've lived in the Robius corridor for about 25 years now. If this area interests you at all, I'm a great resource. Obviously, I'm going to put this one up in that top shelf category. Well, that should wrap it up for this video. I hope you found it helpful. Now, as much as I love making these videos, there's one thing I love more, and that's helping families from all over the US make the move here to the Greater Richmond area. I've helped countless families make this move in my 20 plus years in the business. So whether you're moving in 9 days, 90 days, heck, even 9 months, don't hesitate to reach out. My contact information is right here and linked in the description, just in case you missed the on-screen pop-up. I look forward to helping you and your family, and until next time, I hope to show you around town. Take care, folks.